In this demonstration, we're going to take a look at creating a filter in a dashboard designer, and then we're going to spend some time on configuring a time intelligence filter. To explain the concept of filters in here, I set up a little demonstration ahead of time. The first thing I did, I just came through and created a little KPI versus internet sales. It's a standard KPI. I did set up a data mappings. So I'm tied into my cube, and I'm tied into the measure internet sales. And remember, a measure is a set of facts or something that we can add together. Other than that, it's a standard KPI, nothing special. I came in and I created a scorecard to hold the KPI, and here's my actual and here's my target. And again, the target's just one. It's nothing special in there. The target's really not set up. It's just to demonstrate the filters. I then came in and created a MDX selection filter, which I'll show you in just a second in here. And there's the properties page. And over in the editor page, if I go edit filter, you can see I tied into AdventureWorks through the SQL Server Analysis Services connection. And I came in and I selected the dimension, which is the slicing, the buys, product category. And out of that dimension, I selected the members, accessories, bikes, clothing, and components. I then created a dashboard to hold this. And within the dashboard here, these are web parts. They're going to eventually be deployed on out. On the left column, I've actually got my MDX filter. On the left column down here, I've got this MDX. And on the right column down here, I've got my selection filter. And so this is my scorecard that's going to come through and show it to you. And if I right-click in here and deploy it in the Sharepoint, there's courseware library. So now you see I've got my filter on the right and the MDX selection filter scorecard on the left, which is where I was stumbling over the name because it's named MDX. So as I pull this on down, you see I can make a selection. I'm going to come in now and I'm going to slice this member in here. This is the returns value down here and of internet sales, and I want to see it by, say, clothing. So now I have applied the dimension to the member here. So internet sales of clothing is returned back down here again, and I can come through and make my different selections. So this filter is filtering the KPI. All right, now the various steps that I took to actually create that, I'm going to just go over here and select into the folder location, and I'll click on filter. And here's my different types of filters. If I select custom table, it'll come in and allow me to come in and select a data source in here into a tabular data set. And I'm going to cancel out of that. That's really just clicking. Again, an MDX query, this would allow me to come in, tying in SSAS, and actually to enter an MDX formula here. It's kind of I need to have a knowledge of MDX. Member selection. Now again, I'm going to tie into analysis services, and this is the type of filter that you just saw in action. Filter dimension, if I select filter, now I'm looking in through that connection at all the buys, all the way I can slice and dice my information down here. So I can come down and take a look at such as geography and the members of geography. If I come through and select that, and I just want to say the United States. Now I'm going to bring in the United States and its descendant members. Come back through, and when we choose, we'll choose from a list or a tree or multi-select. And now I've got it. And in properties down here, I would come in and give it a name. Filter geography. And in the filters demo, sounds fine. So now I've got it down here in filters geography, and let's go back over to the scorecard. There's my scorecard. Again, remember, it's just bringing in internet sales. If I come back over into the dashboard, here's my selection filter. I'm going to dump it. Come up in here and I can see filters, expand out filters, filters demo. Let's take geography and put it in there. And now I've got geography, and I'm going to take member unique name and drop it on this connection. and up pops this little thing. It'll say down there, connect to, and I want to slice this on out, and I'm going to select it by columns, because if you're, well, you don't remember, but when we created the scorecard, I took the KPI and I dropped it on the rows. And I want to bring that in by member unique name, which is what almost always you're going to want to bring it in for these connections. Now I've got it, and I'll come back over here into my filter demo dashboard, and I'm going to right click this, and I'm going to say deploy to SharePoint. Get a little pop-up deploying into SharePoint. And now we're connecting down here, and now you see my filter is United States, which is the only member that I selected up in there. Okay, I paused the video and jumped back in and went through and changed my filter so that it would have all the states selected. And now if I come through there and select a state, I can send my state over, but if you notice, the values do not change. That's because internet sales down here does not have a relationship in the cube to the dimension that I picked on up. Even so, the designer does not know that and will allow us to come through and create that connection. So you need to be aware of that. You need to come through and first off, take a look at your cube, make sure you actually have a connection in there. All right, back in Designer, I'm going to create another filter, perhaps the most interesting one, a time intelligence filter. And I'm going to come down here and add data source. I'm tying into the cube. And down here next. And now I can enter into a formula. The formula I'm going to enter in here is a formula that's going to be translated by PerformancePoint from what I enter in here, such as month -1 into the MDX code, and I'll just label this last month. For what's actually going to be displayed in the IDE, or actually, I'm sorry, in the GUI. So last month and year to date, and everybody knows what that is, year to date, and so on and so forth. And now what you would need to do is click the preview tag, and if you notice down here, there's an error. If you go through and read that, it says the connection has not been configured to allow time intelligence. So I'm going to close out of that, and I'm going to go just next and finish. It's going to allow me to do that. I'm going to go back over to the connection and fix that. On the connection, here's the editor tab, shows me where I'm into. I'm in the time tab. And now my time dimension, I have to tell PerformancePoint or SharePoint what the time dimension is. And as we drop on down here, see, this looks like a fairly good one. Here's our date calendar. Now, if you're not familiar with the land of analysis, you can have multiple time dimensions down within here. As I drop on down, you'll see that I do have a number of them. There's my ship date calendar. And moving on up somewhere in there, I've got a fiscal calendar also. But we're just going to come down and pick the date calendar. And now choose a date to begin with. This is a little different than what you're going to run into in the actual wild, because I have incomplete data in this cube. The data is not, we have to broadcast this on out, and so I'm going to come through and just select January 1st, 2006. Sounds fine. And the hierarchy level, what it's asking in here is the data that we have is granular, how deep. You always want to go through and select the most granular data you have. Now what I have, because I'm familiar with the data, is my data is granular to the day. So obviously I could select hour, it just wouldn't work. Now I'm going to come in and we're going to pick a period here that's equal to January 1st, 2006. Remember, this January 1st, 2006 could be a fiscal calendar, so I'm trying to tie this in at this time into the Gregorian calendar. And we'll do that. Sounds fine. Now I've got to come down and set this on up. This time aggregation calendar year is equal to, it's asking me to help it. So a calendar year is equal to a year. Calendar semester is equal to a semester. Calendar quarter is quarter. And a month is a month. And a date, you'll see the difference now. The date, we don't call it date. We're calling it day down within the cube. So I've got to help it there and tell it what we're doing down here. And now I'm going to save that. Let's go back over to our filter. New filter 2. Let's change the properties on that so we can identify it. Time intelligence. And go back over into the editor. And here I can edit filter. Convenient. Next, come through there and now we'll preview it. Alright, now it's figured it out. See date, calendar month, and 2006, and it brings it on back, and then calendar year 2006, date by day, and it can come through and it can figure that on out. And I would again go through and enter any of the formulas that my users wanted, and then bring them on down. By the way, you can search online, or in the courseware, we list out a partial listing of how to do this, so you can just search online. The PerformancePoint blog has a real nice layout of these different shortcuts in here. So next, and finish. Okay, and now I've got a time intelligence filter. So let's go over to our dashboard, filter demo, and get rid of geography. It didn't work anyway. And we'll come in and take a look at filters. And here's my time intelligence filter. I'm going to add that on in. And now this time though, I'm going to take time intelligence and drop it on down there. And I want to bring the time intelligence into the columns. Sorry, oops, no, that was correct. Into the columns, and I want to bring this off of the member unique name. Alright, now I'll go through and redeploy it. So up here in filter demo, I'm going to deploy to Sharepoint, and the page will pop on up. And here's my time intelligence filter. See the year date display, and I've got whatever it is, 5 million internet sales. And I can pull this on down there and see how we did last month. And we sold 500,000 and change last month.